Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. Welcome to our November Learn It Lunch, formerly known as Business and Leaders Luncheon. We just decided it's a little easier to say, and we're just sticking with it. So last month, if you got to join us, we had the opportunity to hear from Brad Ketch with the Rockwood CDC, who gave us an in-depth look at our Rockwood area and how its economic status with persistent poverty impacts East County and how investing in the area can change our regional economy. It was a wonderful presentation. If you missed it, you can find it on the MetroEast community media page or also on our website. But today we have the privilege of learning about a project that goes beyond bricks and mortar, one that embodies the spirit of innovation and compassion. The team that we have here today for this presentation are at the forefront of the remodel of the former Pony Soldier. First, I would like to say thank you to our presenting sponsors, Aerosanitary Service, Mark Ellingson, who is here from Umpqua, thank you. The Boeing Company, Mount Hood Community College. Thank you to our stakeholder sponsor, Gresham Barlow School District, our venue sponsor, The Quality Inn, and to our media sponsor, MetroEast Community Media with Keith, our guy who takes good care of us. We are recording the webinar today. It will be available through the cable channels of MetroEast Community Media and through the Chamber website if you'd like to take another look or share it with somebody you know. Would also like to take an opportunity to acknowledge some board members we have in attendance. We have Alex Marcus with the Village Retirement Center and Andrea Pickett with My Father's House. Thank you so much for coming. And in addition, we have an elected official, Mayor, Mayor Stan Pulliam of Sandy. Thank you so much. And so before we start, I would like to ask how many of you have memories or have ever stayed at the Pony Soldier? Oh, there are a few of you. Okay, that's great. Me as well, actually. I moved here my sophomore year from Mississippi when I was 15 years old, and our house that my parents bought wasn't ready, so we stayed there for about a week and a half, and it was really a lovely experience. It was right in the middle of town, and we were close to everything, and we really enjoyed our stay. But I'm happy to know that a new life will be breathed back into a Gresham landmark that holds memories for a lot of us. So this is very exciting. College Housing Northwest is a Portland-based nonprofit and is in partnership with Mount Hood Community College to provide affordable college housing to local students. We will hear today from Ryan Sturley, who is the Director of Real Estate and Development of College Housing Northwest. He has overseen the real estate expansion efforts to serve community college students in East County and has been a strong advocate for the creation of affordable student housing throughout the Portland metro region. We also have Pam Blumenthal with us today. She's a Director of Affordable Rents for College Students program at College Housing Northwest. She has over 2 decades of hands-on experience creating and managing support programs for underrepresented students. At ARCS, Pam leads a first-of-its-kind, innovative, affordable, and subsidizing housing program for low-income college students. We also have Bhaktirose Dawdy, Director of Student Basic Needs Initiatives, Mount Hood Community College, and John Sheehan, Mount Hood Community Resource Center at Mount Hood Community College. College Housing Northwest is creating not just living spaces, but environments that foster growth, learning, and community. It is a testament to the belief that access to quality housing should never be a barrier to education. This venture extends far beyond the physical transformation of Pony Soldier. It is an opportunity to reshape the future for those seeking higher education and will ultimately create a ripple effect of positive change throughout our community. We will have a time during the presentation for Q&A. They're not going to wait till the end. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please just raise your hand and I will come to you with a microphone so everybody can hear your questions. So without further ado, please help me welcome all of our presenters, and we'll have Ryan first, I think. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
everyone. My name is Ryan Sturley. I'm the Director of Real Estate and Development for College Housing Northwest. And Pam's actually going to start off the presentation. Do we have like a clicker or anything? Oh, yeah, sure. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm Pam Blumenthal. I'm the director of the ARCS program, Affordable Rents for College Students. And we're going to tell you a little bit about College Housing Northwest and our program, and a little bit of our history. And then our Mount Hood partners are going to tell you more about what their needs are, what they've been seeing. We've been partnering with Mount Hood for over 3 years now, but the fact that we're in process with a building is very exciting. Okay, so I just hit the arrow, you think, to start? Okay, so that's all of us. We've already heard about us. So have anybody ever heard about College Housing Northwest before now? A couple of you from Mount Hood. So we've been around for over 50 years, a nonprofit started by Portland State students, and it started in 1968 and was a student co-op that evolved into a nonprofit. If any of you know Stan Amy, he's one of the founders of New Seasons Market. He was the founder of College Housing Northwest when he was a student at PSU. We have been a nonprofit for a long time, but not a fundraising nonprofit. We've been keeping our rents as low as possible, putting our money back into the organization. But the rents at 15 to 20% below market for downtown, where primarily we have been located, really hasn't been affordable for students. And that's one of the reasons that we've kind of grown into what we're doing now. So just talk about student housing and security. So I don't know if homelessness is all around us and we see it, but I don't think we think about college students as being homeless. And Bhaktirose and John will tell you more about what's going on at Mount Hood. But I worked at Portland Community College for 16 years before coming to College Housing Northwest. And I was very aware of students living in their cars, couch surfing, trying to stay on campus as late as they could because they didn't have anywhere to go, sleeping in the bathroom of the college. We don't think about that when we think about homelessness, but it is truly a big issue in our community. And nationally, it's also a big issue. And why is that? Rising costs of education, stagnant wages, increasing socioeconomic diversity of students. So the student that you might think of as coming directly out of high school with family support, that is not the average college student. Average college student, I believe, is 26 years old. Sometimes they have dependents. They have jobs. There's a lot going on, especially community college students. So these are some of the rates of homelessness at 2-year institutions and 4-year institutions. So this is not a small problem, and it's an ever increasing problem. So this is a survey was done in 2019 of college students in Oregon. I believe they were community college students. 41% of the respondents were food insecure. So food insecurity is also an issue. And if you don't know, all colleges now have food pantries on campus. So that is an issue that's being addressed in a variety of ways, not solved, but it's a little easier to wrap your arms around. And then 52% of the students that were surveyed were housing insecure, which means they may be living somewhere, but it's not a safe environment. They're not sure if they're going to be able to pay their rent. And then 20% identified as homeless, and that's, as I defined before, either living in their car, couch surfing, possibly living on the street. And I'll let John and Bhaktirose come up and talk a little bit about what's going on at Mount Hood and their connection to this issue.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here and taking an interest in this work. As Pam said, we've partnered for the last 3 years, but really this work has started many, many years ago, trying to understand and get our sort of grasp on how many students are we talking about, what are we talking about, families, kids, just trying to grasp it. So we've participated in national surveys, as well as local surveys and regional surveys, and we really have gotten a sense of what's happening. So before the pandemic, it was already a really big issue at Mount Hood. We saw the trends getting worse and worse. For example, when I first started collecting data, probably about 10 years ago or so, it was 1 in 12 students was, homeless. Then it was 1 in 8. Then it was 1 in 5 before the pandemic, and now it just keeps going up. So it's really significant. And as we realized the trend, and then the pandemic hit and got even worse, now here we are, nearly half of MHCC students are having some kind of insecurity, and then a good, 1 in 5, 1 in 4 are experiencing homelessness. And it's just sort of taken over. And so we really understood that for the health of the community, for the health of the students, the ability to finish their degrees and certificates, sometimes to even feel comfortable starting and enrolling, seeing a future for themselves, it was going to be determined on whether or not we were able to partner and see and realize some housing opportunities for them that were actually what we would call deeply affordable. Again, with the ARCs, it's affordable rents for college students, and Pam will talk a little bit more about that with Ryan, but the idea being that it can't just be a little discount off, that's not going to do it. And so we learned that. Nearly 60% of Mount Hood students reported that the max rent they can afford is less than $1,000, and there was quite a few that said about $700, $750, and as y'all know, that's not what's in the community to rent. And when we did this affordable housing survey, we learned that 40% of the students have at least one dependent. So what that means is we're talking about families, we're talking about potentially child homelessness. And if I come from a background before Mount Hood, this is my almost 15th year at Mount Hood, but before that I was working with homeless kids and youth on the street in Portland. And what we learned there is the number one predictor of adult homelessness is youth homelessness. So this is a really significant issue, and there's a real opportunity here for us to solve not just the challenges at Mount Hood and Mount Hood students, but really the community at large. So the district, the region. And when we first started to meet with Pam and Ryan and others, and we gathered and we worked all the way through the pandemic on this, was that we wanted to make it regional because we understand the needs are regional. And so I know Pam will talk a little bit more about that. Another thing, and I know a lot of you already know some of this information, but Mount Hood continues to have a strong impact on the local economy. And it's a major driver of economic growth in East County. So a report that was done in 21-22 was the impact was $423 million. So not a small number. Stable housing, we know, means students can persist in school. They're spending their money in district. They increase the likelihood of being retained in the local workforce, whether it be a job they got during, while they're going to school to sort of supplement their wages and benefits and stuff from the college. And, they really do contribute. So they're a local workforce gem, and then they also have this idea where they could really continue to grow within the district as they gain skills, certificates, degrees, etc. Just a little bit about our students too, just to kind of keep us centered in that. Students are typically with us 3 to 5 years. And if they come to us for ESL, it's usually more like 8 to 10. So we're talking about long-standing relationships with students and their families. We're not talking about they're in and out in a year. And so that's really important to note as well. Our largest enrollment increase recently has been in the 16 to 25 age group. So this is our future workforce. Can someone who graduates from Reynolds High School see a future? Can someone from Sandy High School see a future? Where do they see themselves being? Do they see that it's even possible when they crunch the numbers? And just to really clarify too, Mount Hood draws rural students and those from other parts of the state in the Pacific Northwest to Gresham. And when they come, many times, what is the first thing they're trying to do? Find a safe place to live while they're going to school. and a good place that they can afford over the long term and not have housing challenges. And so everything from those coming from different rural areas to athletes to other folks, and it's a big piece of the reason why we have had such a great partnership with College Housing Northwest. Also, I will say that we're just so blessed to have them at the table through the pandemic, one of the hardest times for all of us, and to be so steadfast in their vision to support our district. They literally have, had this vision for a while with us and never gave up, and hence we're here today. So I'll hand it back over.
So Bhaktirose touched on this a little bit, but this just kind of, I think we know, we're talking about a college education. It doesn't have to be a 4-year degree. We know that the benefits of a post-secondary credential of some kind, could be a certificate, could be an associate's degree. It is still the most evidenced, clearest path out of poverty to have some kind of post-secondary education. And we are able to house people that are getting some kind of workforce certification. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a 4-year degree, but many of our students are pursuing those. But these are some of the benefits as we know, increased, tax revenue, fewer folks struggling, better health outcomes, all of those things. More civic engagement. So this is just a little diagram of how we operate. So we currently own 6 properties, 3 on the west side and 3 on the east side. And so we are a housing provider and property manager. We do all of it ourselves. And then we are developing and acquiring properties as well. One of our properties downtown called the Amy was built, and Ryan managed that project and was opened in 2019, right before the pandemic. But it's a brand new property right next to PSU. And then the ARCS program started in 2020 and was really envisioned to subsidize the rents that we're already offering. So I mentioned that we have rents that are 15 to 20% below market. That's still unattainable. So the ARCS program provides between 50 to 100% rental subsidy depending on situation with the students. So this is the rental subsidy I mentioned. Students are eligible if they are referred. They have to be referred by one of our partners, Mount Hood being one. We're partnered with all the post-secondary institutions, the public ones, PCC, Mount Hood, Clackamas Community College, PSU, as well as some nonprofits, NEA, and New Avenues for Youth. Students have to be enrolled at least half-time, they have to be in good academic standing, and they have to be able to meet our general rental criteria. We have minimal barriers to entry. There's no required rental history, no income requirements, no security deposit, no application fee, reduced utility and Wi-Fi cost, and we have eviction prevention services if students struggle paying their portion of the rent. And then we have staff that work with me that have caseloads of students, so they're providing some level of case management and support to students while they're living with us, and working with our partners to make sure that if students are struggling academically or socially, emotionally, that we have some connection to them. And we are making referrals into community organizations as needed. These are our partners I mentioned. And we're growing partnerships, so we're in conversation with OHSU right now, U of O Portland, Latino Network, others, so that they would also be able to refer into ARCS as it grows. And this is just a little snapshot of last year. We served 73 students, so we're still small and growing. But we had 16 graduates of some kind of credential. Some of those students stayed with us. They might have gotten an associate's degree and then continued on. And then 30 of them got 100% rental subsidy, and 43 got the 50%. And then these are a breakdown of where the students were from: PCC, Mount Hood, and PSU last year. And this is Ryan.
Thanks, Pam. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our expansion to serve East County, which has really kind of happened in the last 2-3 years. So here on a map is kind of where we've expanded, and I'll kind of go through each of these, but you can see we're kind of right next to PCC Southeast Campus, in between kind of 160th and Gleason, in between Mount Hood and PCC campus, and then the Project Turnkey site, which is the former Pony Soldier Inn, which is about a mile and a quarter from Mount Hood campus. So Connery Place is 72 units. We bought this about a year and a half ago. And so this was a partnership with Oregon Department of Human Services. They actually provided a $3 million capital grant that went into the acquisition of this building. And what that did was essentially allow us to provide about 20 units of these 72 at really, really deeply subsidized rates. And those units are kind of reserved for youth experiencing homelessness. So youth that are coming out of shelter, some sort of situation like that, who are wanting to pursue, further education. Again, this one is kind of basically adjacent to PCC's Southeast campus. This is the 601. So this is about equidistant between Mount Hood Community College and PCC Southeast. Typically, we haven't acquired or done projects that aren't directly adjacent to a campus, but this actually came out of the student housing survey that we did that Bhaktirose had mentioned before. So we surveyed students at all of the local community colleges, so Clackamas, Mount Hood, PCC, along with PSU students. And one of the questions we asked was kind of how they were getting to college, and how important was it that they lived adjacent to campus. And what we found from that survey was, above and beyond anything else, was that rent affordability was what students needed. And most of them, especially in East County, a majority of students had cars and drove to school. And so we kind of took data from that survey and expanded, where we were looking for housing. This property was very naturally affordable. And I think the rents were around 60% area median income, kind of naturally, without any sort of affordable housing subsidies tied to it. And so kind of was a good project for us that was a response to kind of what we saw as the need of students in East County. This is predominantly large 2-bedroom units too. And so I know Bhaktirose mentioned, and we saw from the survey how many Mount Hood students had dependents. And so, this is kind of, we were thinking about that and thinking about family housing for students when we decided to purchase this building. And then, so the Project Turnkey project, formerly the Pony Soldier Inn. So this was pretty unique partnership, at least for us. So the Project Turnkey program, I'm not sure how many people are familiar with it. It's basically a state-funded program. It came out of the wildfires in 2020, but it was providing state funding to turn hotels into emergency shelter, originally for people displaced by the wildfires in 2020. And then the following year, they expanded that to be a bit more broad, and just allowed nonprofits to apply for it, to turn in hotels into any sort of shelter or transitional housing. And so we applied for this as kind of transitional housing, which, student housing and what we do fits pretty well into the definitions of transitional housing according to the state. So again, that's the state provided kind of the funding to acquire the building, and then they also provided us additional money towards the renovations, which I'll get into in a second. But it's 75 rooms total, 50, and we're converting all of the rooms into studio apartments. So we're basically, part of the renovations is we're adding kitchens to each of the rooms. So it'll be, full full studio apartments in this building. And 50 of those we have funding to be no cost for students for the first 2 years. And then 25 will be rented at $900 a month, which is about 50% area median income. And we're about to reside the building, and this is, I think, the color we're going to go with, this green. So it'll look a little different. You can see we've done some internal demolition already. So this is one of the corridors. We've taken up the carpet, which was like, I think, original carpet. It was pretty hotel-y, pretty 80s. Yeah, part of what we're doing, this is just kind of a list. We're obviously, the bulk of it is we're turning all the apartments into studios. So that's a significant renovation. We have to vent, do venting for the kitchens, through the roof in every unit. So that's a significant portion. The previous owners did not take very good care of the building, so it needs completely to be resided, needs a new roof, needs new windows. So that's happening right now and through the next kind of few months. So that kind of exterior work will be happening. Some other stuff. So we're doing solar on the roof. The Inflation Reduction Act actually brought solar into like with the amount of credits, brought it into like a very desirable range for us to do solar on this. And we're putting in new boilers, some other sustainable building systems. We filled the pool in. That's going to be a common courtyard area for students. I have some slides of some renderings after this that I'll show everyone. We're creating a student study space on the ground floor. There's going to be a gym. There's going to be offices for College Housing Northwest and for our partners, and a conference room. And then we're converting the kind of industrial laundry room that the hotel had with the giant washers and dryers for all the bedding and stuff. That's going to be a tenant, like student laundry room, like a common laundry room. So here's some renderings. These are still kind of early concept, but this is kind of the lobby area that looks onto, through that glass is where the pool and hot tub were. This is kind of a rendering of the student study space. So we're doing kind of built-in nooks on the back wall, and then there's going to be common tables for students. This is right off of the lobby area.
Looks like the coffee shop you and I just met at.
I hope it's that hip.
Yeah, right.
Here's one of the courtyards. So yeah, again, this is where the pool was. You could see there's these balconies overlooking it. So we were reticent to leave a pool below, balconies where students might.
Come on.
Yeah, it was 5 feet deep too. But yeah, this will be a nice outdoor courtyard area. This is still early kind of renderings, but you can see like the kitchen. We're putting kitchenettes with cooktop, microwave that'll vent out into each room. And we are furnishing each of the rooms with a queen bed. This other furniture and artwork will not be a part of every room, but this is kind of like a typical size room. I think they're like 370-ish square feet on average, so pretty good size for a studio apartment for student housing. And we're in the middle of a capital fundraising campaign, so we got the building through the Project Turnkey grant, and the total cost of all the renovations is going to be around $7.2 million, and so we have a fundraising goal for ourselves of 4.3, and we've raised about 2.6 million so far of our goal, and so we're kind of in the middle of a fundraising campaign from now until next summer when the project is scheduled to be complete, and so we're trying to raise an additional 1.8 million towards the renovations. I think that's it.
Your 1.8 that you're still looking to do, is your 1.8 Is your 1.8 that you're still looking to raise, is that all private funding, or are you still, do you have grants, et cetera, that are outstanding?
We're looking at like multiple sources, so foundations and private, some government as well. So we're kind of looking broadly for those funds. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the support that the students are getting in terms of funds for utilities and their rent and this. Is there any money management training going on so that they understand how this is working for them and where they will have to be eventually?
I'm going to let Pam answer that one.
I love that question. It's a great question, and I'm working with my team actually on doing building out financial literacy opportunities for students. We're doing some of that individually with students that are currently in the program, but I think with this project, because there'll be so many folks, and the idea isn't that they get free rent forever. We have our current model that's 100% rent. Its subsidy is for a year, and then the idea is that then they start paying rent after that. And it will be similar with this model. What they're paying for rent after the first year might vary depending on their situations, but it isn't. And we want to build in financial literacy components and also maybe match savings plans while they're not paying rent, that they could be saving money. But I just yesterday, a manager started who's going to be working with me on helping build out all the elements of that. But yes, absolutely part of our plan.
In addition to the economic element associated with it, is there also a requirement for a grade point average or a number of classes that they have to take and receiving passing grades within those to maybe limit their time in class from maybe 3 to 5 and not make it 10 years, so they could be in the program for a much longer period of time?
Oh, so the program is they're only eligible for 5 years in the ARCS program, and our requirement for the program is that they're at least half-time, and we encourage more. And then there's regular check-ins with the colleges, and they have to kind of show that they can also take 3 months off a year. Many students take summers off, right? So they're allowed that. But yeah, there is, we don't have a GPA requirement, but the goal is that they're making progress to whatever their goal is. So, and we are checking on that. Yeah. Any other questions?
Do you build on property or just purchase existing properties?
We do both. So the last ground, we did 141 units that we opened in 2019. That was a ground up kind of project near PSU. The challenge for us has been construction prices over the last 5-10 years have escalated regionally, nationally, really significantly. And because right now there's federal policy and state and local policy that prohibits students from accessing traditional affordable housing, it means we aren't eligible to use like the different funding sources that your traditional affordable housing developer would use to build new affordable housing. We're working kind of lobbying to try to change some of that, but as construction costs have gone up and as we still have not been able to access some of those traditional funding sources to build new affordable housing, we've had to shift to renovation, acquisition, because we're just not able to we don't have that same access to be able to just tap into, low-income housing tax credits is the big one from the federal side to build affordable housing. But there's all sorts of things that build and augment low-income housing tax credits that, currently student housing and students aren't a part of that umbrella. So yes, we do everything, but we kind of shifted to be a little bit more economical.
Yeah, in the presentation, you're talking food insecurity and some of the different items. We just talked financial literacy, but what are some of the different deals you're working in to navigate and point folks into different directions that are experiencing some of this?
So I mentioned we have some level of case management for the students that are in the ARCS program. So students are getting referrals, help applying for SNAP benefits, for example. And then the students that are eligible for the 100% subsidy, right now we have a partnership with NEA and New Avenues for Youth where they're getting intensive case management. So they have access to, those are all youth, they have to be under 25 to be eligible for that. It's funded through our partnership with DHS. And so they're getting kind of double case management. We're doing kind of housing case management, and then those nonprofits are really helping connect folks to mental health services. Those case managers even can take them grocery shopping. There's a whole level of intensive supports that happen. And so with the hotel renovation, we are, like I said, still building out the programming, but there will be case management support for the students there. We're just not sure, if our partners will come along for that or if we'll be doing it internally. Yeah, still figuring it out.
One of your earlier slides said you had, I think, 73 participants currently.
Last year.
Last year, okay. Mm-hmm. And he just mentioned that he had 114 units in one spot. What is your vacancy ratio right now?
Okay, so College Housing Northwest serves any college student that wants to come live with us. My program is embedded in what we do. So we have 600 apartments, 650? Yeah, so we have 650 apartments. So majority of those are just students going to PSU, Mount Hood, so anybody. So what we're doing in my program is deeply subsidizing rents for that number, 73. Right now we have 80 already this year, and we're probably going to get to over 120 in this year. So we've tripled in the last 2 years the number of students we're subsidizing. And that's really due to getting external funding through the state, and we get some county funding as well through the Joint Office on Homeless Services. So we're really, the more resources we can have to subsidize the rents, then the more students we can have in my program. Yeah, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say something about that really quick. So Mount Hood Community College is a partner. We support students as well as while they're getting supported by College Housing Northwest. Also, we have a program called STEP, SNAP Employment and Training Program, that during career technical education and employment and training, whatever that looks like at the college, which is really broad, it can include apprenticeship, et cetera, they get extra supports through that. It's a federal contract that the college has to administer. So they have a specialist, basically like a coach case manager on our side that supports those who are in that program. And they can't cover food, but they can cover other expenses, like say rent for a couple months each year, up to a couple months of utilities. Gas cards, as you know, gas is ridiculously expensive, and we have a lot of students who do clinical rotations at local, hospitals. We have folks doing automotive tech, have to go out to the dealership. We have apprenticeships, so we have a pretty broad support there, and that's connected to the SNAP eligibility for food assistance. So it gets, even though food insecurity is a big deal, at the same time, it's impacted by all those other costs, as you know, so gas, et cetera. And we have a really strong connection with TriMet as well. They provide, through a House bill, passes for students. So that helps offset cost as well to be able to afford food.
So I think I have the microphone now. Diane McKeel, Board of Education at Mount Hood Community College. Our board is very excited about this partnership that we have. Housing insecurity and food insecurity are huge issues nationwide for all community colleges. This is not something that's specific to our area. This is an issue all over the country. And we have remarkably amazing students at Mount Hood Community College. Many of them have overcome significant obstacles, but their education is important to them, and they've always got their eye on the education. And our food pantry, which is Barney's Pantry, is run by our students. They run our food pantry. And so I think that's very impressive that the students take this on. And we have some amazing partners who really help out with our food pantries. So these partnerships, like this one with all of you, is so important for us to be able to provide for our students and help them with the issues that are worrisome to them and could be a barrier to them continuing on in their education. So thank you for your presentation, and yeah, we're looking forward. We're very looking forward to this. You know that I already. Anyway, thank you.
Do you have any provision for medical needs, health needs?
We're working on an emergency fund that we're actually, for Giving Tuesday this year, we're going to be raising funds for not just medical, but any other kind of emergency that can pull students out of school and make it difficult for them to stay. And sometimes students just need $100 or $200 for a bill or for a car situation or something else. So we're raising some emergency funds for our students in our program, but we don't have anything specifically for medical, but this will help if they come across a situation like that. You have something?
So through House Bill 2835, there's benefits navigators at all the community colleges and public universities now. And so within our centers, they can actually get signed up for OHP, or they can get connected to low cost or no cost clinics through all of the colleges and public universities now. And so that's like embedded in our program. So we have folks get health insurance on the spot when they're in kind of a crisis within our college as well. So we'll always be connecting to whatever resources are out there and helping them figure out, how to make it work. We have some amazing clinics here in East County that we very much have partnerships with as well. But what I will say is that as we keep going on this partnership, it really is truly two-sided in the sense that they will bring resources, we bring resources. We get grants and different supports for students attached to that benefits navigator role that each of the colleges have. And there's work going on right now around that, but we will continue that as well. And that includes, we do have a referral for free eyeglasses and an eye exam as well. That's a different partnership through OHSU right now, but we will be continuing to build some of those.
A real quick question. I know that Mount Hood Community College is not known as a party school. However, how do you monitor the activity in this unit and ensure that it's safe and not a party house? And also, what happens in the summer when the students leave?
Yeah. So we typically do year-round we have year-round tenants. So the populations we serve are typically, like Pam had mentioned earlier, like I think the average age of I know PSU students was 27. A lot of these students live and have kind of roots in the community, and so they're still living. They're not flying back to like their parents' house for the summer like you would think of as the traditional college experience. So yeah, typically we do have some turnover because people graduate in the summer, and so they may move out because they've graduated and whatever. But typically we have kind of year-round tenancy. And then as far as kind of safety and like making sure it doesn't turn into Animal House. We have a few things. So we have staff that live on site. We have student. They're called community ambassadors. They're kind of like RAs in a traditional student housing experience, not quite as intensive, but they're there basically and on call 24/7 to respond to. I mean, a lot of times it's if students get lock themselves out after the office is closed, that's a lot of what they respond to, but also all sorts of that, what you're thinking, like if there is a crazy party going on, they'll respond to that, and any of that stuff. So yeah, we'll have people on site.
I have a question. So when they do graduate, how much of a time frame, how long are they allowed to stay before they need to move on? What's the time frame for that?
It's 3 months. Yeah.
Any other questions? I think we're good. I'll be right up.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I guess last thing I'll say is this is our first project in Gresham, and so Dr. Scari at Mount Hood and folks at Mount Hood have kind of introduced us to Stacy in the chamber, and we've presented to the Rotary Club. We're presenting to City Council next week, but if anyone has kind of ideas for people that are interested in what we're doing, that we should be connecting with related to this project and our work kind of to serve more students out in Gresham area, please reach out to myself or Pam. And
or potential donors for our capital campaign. We'd also love to talk to anybody about that.
Yep, the name, there's still, the building is unnamed for a reason. We're waiting for that. Anyone wants their name on a building. Thank you.
Isn't that exciting, guys? I'm so excited. I wish, boy, when I was in college, I sure could have used that. This sounds awesome. Oh, I did neglect, I'm so sorry, Diane McKeel. Yes, I didn't mention you as a member of the board for Mount Hood Community College. I wasn't, okay, well, I didn't know, so thank you so much for coming. Thanks, guys. I apologize, and I appreciate you coming. Thank you so much. I don't know, I kind of have an idea for the carpet, though. I'm kind of sad you mentioned it. You know, in the airport, right? They sold squares. I'm just saying. I think you missed an opportunity there. I know. So to wrap it up, I just want to let you guys know that we will not have a presentation in December. We're going to take December off, but mark your calendars for January 16th, same time, same place. We're going to have Jake Wigler from Praxis talking about the new federal standards that have spurred the modernization of flood control systems along the Columbia River. There's talk that it may be a bond or levy on the May ballot, so some information coming our way and what that will mean for you. On your tables, though, I would like to mention we are spearheading the Adopt-A-Cop program again. This is our 3rd year in a row. And thank you to Christina Price with Edward Jones for being our first ever presenting sponsor for this program. We're really excited about this year. We're going to have a fundraising goal, and we'll be able to share that with you. We're doing a walkthrough of some facilities. The main focus this year is the health and wellness of the officers and a facility they share with the firefighters. So we're trying to continue the health and well-being of our first responders, and we'll see what we can get done. So I'm excited to be a part of that. And Donovan McCord with McCord Construction, who is on our board as well, is going to do the walkthrough with us to get some professional eyes on it to see what we can do as a community to help. It is a definite program that brings our community together and shows our appreciation. So we'll have more information on our website, social media. But I just want to say thank you again to our presenting sponsors, Aero Sanitary Service, Mark Ellingson Umpqua Bank, the Boeing Company, and Mount Hood Community College. Thank you to Gresham Barlow School District, the Quality Inn, and MetroEast Community Media. And thank you to Olive Garden, our member restaurant. I hope everyone enjoyed their lunch today. I was excited to have tiramisu included, so there's that. And thank you everybody for taking the time out of your day to be here with us, to learn about this exciting project. I cannot wait to see it come to fruition and see all of the wonderful things that it will bring to our community as a whole. So have a great rest of your week and have a happy Thanksgiving. Thanks, everybody.